So today we're going to be taking a look at the lag shot wedge. Today I haven't looked or shared much feedback on training aids, and I've got to admit, when I received this wedge, I was very much skeptical of the soft shaft and how it would work out, but I actually really like it. It's great from an intuitive standpoint, helping you manage your low point and get better contact when you're pitching. So look forward to sharing with you today what I like about this club. So first training aid review here on the YouTube channel. Didn't know if I would get into this with training aids. I'm not usually a fan of using, let's just say, crutches for players to develop their awareness around the greens or just in training the skills in general. But this one has kind of broken through with me. If I only have 5 minutes to practice my short game, I'm probably going to grab this club because it allows me a way of practicing and improving my technique without having to focus too much on, let's just say, thoughts and positions. I can put my attention more on how I want the club to interact with the ground and just having a sense of how I want the club head to respond in relation to my body. So because it's got the soft shaft, if I manipulate the club or move in certain ways, it's going to flex and make it really hard to get a good contact. So, and it actually is almost too much going on there to the point where you have to shut off thought. If you try and think your way through what's going on with this club, you're going to get into more trouble. So my typical pattern when I'm not practicing and when I'm not pitching a lot is to load the shaft a little bit too much and then get into a position where I have to somewhat side bend in the shot. Now when I do that with the lag, I'll try and show you a bad one here. It's going to put too much flex in the shaft and it's going to leave the face open, so it'll shoot off way to the right. Yeah, so exactly like that. So you can look a little bit silly round the chipping area with this club. When I first grabbed it and I hadn't practiced for a while, I was hitting everything out to the right and bottoming out really early. So it in some way exaggerates your pattern, which is, I always think, great. It's great to have your bad patterns exaggerated because then you have to almost feel the exaggeration of the opposite movement pattern to get you out of the missed shots that you're hitting. So before I go into a little bit further, if you're enjoying the content here, please remember to hit subscribe. Okay, so how did the lag shot help me get out of that pattern? As I mentioned before, remove the thought, get into how you want the club to interact with the ground, and just allow yourself to feel as though the club shaft isn't flexing too much. So to do that, I had to speed up my pivot on the way through. So if you think as far as like I used to move this way, I'm having to speed up this way on the way through. And I also had to not load the club as much. So for me, I have to have a sense of the club falling as I'm speeding up my pivot. So I'm adding the thoughts now, so I hope I don't think too much while I'm hitting this. But all this was quite intuitive as I was working through it. So you can see as I'm moving there, I'm not getting too much deformation in the shaft. So it's going to allow me to manage the low point really well. So I'll try and hit one for you here now. So just get into a setup nicely here. This is a 54 degrees, so I've tried to pick a shot that matches this club. So a little heavy there. I feel as though I could have turned through a little bit better and could have let it fall. But not bad, not bad. Let's hit another one. Really nice and clean on that one there. So, and again, I'm not really having to think too much. I'm kind of shutting off the thoughts and really focusing on how I want the club to interact with the ground and the finish I want to get to where my body is turned nicely to the target. So one more again here. Best one there of the three. And I've overhit them a little bit. I am focusing on the movement, but you can see all three balls there in exactly the same spot. So I know that I'm delivering the club in a really similar way as well. So this club here, can't speak, as I said, more highly of it because of just how simple it can make it for a player. If you try and think your way through the miss hits and what's going on when you first pick it up, and it might be a bit scary, probably not going to help you. But then once you get a sense of like, okay, how can I move the club in a way that it's not going to flex too much, and how can you, again, you can see me hitting the floor there, how can you make sure you're hitting the floor in the same spot every time? So I've got the ball here, but when I'm doing my practice swing, it's actually bottoming out a good couple of inches behind the ball here, which is brilliant, because that's what I want it to do. I want the bounce to be hitting the ground behind the ball there and just gliding through the shot. So let me hit one more here for you here. Felt great with those rehearsals, and let's see if I can get an even better contact here. Oh, that was the worst one. I could tell over it, I was kind of rushing it, speaking to you all. Let's hit one more here. Really good contact on that last one there. So, yep, if you've been struggling with your pitching, this could be a nice little thoughtless way, let's say, to go out there, focus on more of the external stuff, how you're hitting the ground, how you want to finish in relation to the target, that stuff. Give it a go.